Towerhead. Wes Mitchell and Chris Clark excited now to be joined by Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter to give us all the insight into what's going on with EA College Football 25. Matt, I feel like we should just shut off our microphones and let you talk for the next 15 minutes and fill us in on all the details, because you've kind of been at the forefront of this entire thing through the process of this game coming to fruition. For one, how did you kind of position yourself to be the guy when it comes to the latest on this game?
Yeah, to be honest, friends, it happened by accident. I run a newsletter that mostly covers business and policy issues in college sports. And I think 2.5 years ago, I was filing a bunch of open records requests to learn about how a couple of universities were about to launch licensed beers. And I thought that was going to be like a revenue story. And through that search, I got a copy of the initial project proposal for EA Sports College Football and realized, like, this is more interesting than beer. Kind of pulled on that thread for open records requests for about a year, until at that point, more people at EA and within the licensing industry and within the video game industry were more willing to talk with me. So it's been really rewarding and interesting. I'm a fan of the series just like everybody else, but certainly didn't expect to get into this being a video game reporter, but glad to have added that to the portfolio of things we write about.
Yeah, and here we are, Matt. I actually just saw, I think, an email of yours just went out talking about the game. So while we have you, I'm sure you'll have a lot of information coming out today in the next couple of days. You want to tell our listeners exactly how they can read up on what you're sending out?
So you can find the newsletter at extrapointsmb.com. I send this out 4 days a week. The embargo just lifted like 3 minutes ago. So I sent out an email with my first impressions. There's free emails, and there's others that are behind a subscription paywall. So if you want to read the stuff that your athletic director is reading and understand how this industry works, you can enjoy it at extrapointsmb.com.
Yeah, so if you are listening, you want to get the full scoop, go check that out. But, Matt, we got you at a perfect time here, man. So you've played the game. I know you were down there. What was your first impression just of the gameplay in general, maybe compared to Madden and maybe compared to the game from a decade ago?
I would definitely say it's fundamentally different from Madden, which I know has been a major, I got to play the new Madden game there too. It's been a major, concern, I think, from a lot of consumers. Part of they are built with the same engine, but the animations are different. The physics are different. Some of the features are different, and the gameplay itself is different. And it's also, I would say, fundamentally different from NCAA 14. My very early impression was I'm going to have to relearn how to play this game a little bit, right? Because some of the kind of more cheesy ways to exploit NCAA 14 or the ways that I think we would typically play college football video games are not going to be as effective in this game. There's a really, I think, very different passing system where passing angle and pass velocity and being able to kind of layer the ball through coverage is going to be much more important than just like scrambling out of the pocket and rifling something across the field or down the field. And there's how you play is going to be different. Like I think a lot of people last time would say, okay, like the way to play is to run an option offense. Or to do 4 verts every time here, and your personnel and your playbook and your play style and what your opponent's doing, it's going to matter a lot more. There's going to be a lot more flexibility, I think, in this edition.
Yeah, Matt, Chris here. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully on defense, there's still the free fire blitz. Y'all remember that one? That was a staple of my strategy, certainly on NCAA 14. But Matt, you noted that obviously several game modes in this game. Tell us about the game mode that you were able to play, and maybe, anything else that you can share that you've learned about any of the modes that you did not get to play when you went over to the EA headquarters.
I can talk a little bit about Dynasty mode, which is, I'm sure, a thing that a lot of people are going to be asking about. That's fundamentally the core mode for this game, right? One of the, I think, pretty exciting things is they completely changed the coaching skill tree system. Do you guys remember from the last game a decade ago?
Yep.
You start out as like a level 0 coach, and as you progress through the game, you almost everybody would put all their points into recruiting, right? Level that up all the way, and then maybe go into the gameplay mode. Now, when you start a dynasty, and you can also start your career as a coordinator, there's 11, I think, different skill trees, and it's impossible to max all of them out. Just like in real life, coaches aren't good at everything. And so one of the strategic decisions everyone's going to have to decide here is, do I want to hire coordinators and staffers that are good at some of the things that I'm not? Do I want to be a recruiting-oriented coach and then hire guys that are more development-oriented or more schematic-oriented? Or do I want to double down on what I'm good at and maybe stack some of those multipliers, stack some of those benefits, and try to build out my trajectory that way? And the game will let you know, hey, these are the things you need to do to level up in scouting. These are the things you need to level up in motivation. The transfer portal is definitely going to be a big part of how you build rosters. I think one of the kind of fun little wrinkles we saw was that if you're recruiting a high schooler and you're like number 2 in his recruitment and you lose him, and that guy hits the portal the next year, you're going to have a leg up in recruiting him out of the portal. And so if you're taking over a G5 team, that's going to be one of the, I think, better ways to maybe stack talent. The game is definitely set up where you can't win the Sun Belt in year 1 and then sign 7 5-star kids out of high school. You can eventually do that as your program changes, but you're always going to cheese the AI a little bit in the last game, and that's not going to be the case here. But you might be able to get some of those 3- and 4-star guys out of the transfer portal. There'll be lots of different, I think, roster management pathways as you build your team.
Again, talking to Matt Browns from the Extra Points newsletter on the latest on the EA Sports College Football 25 video game. So you're telling me I can't turn Kennesaw State into a national power overnight in Dynasty mode?
Yes. You can definitely turn Kennesaw State into a superpower in like 7 years, and you can win all your games in the first year, but you're not going to be able to build Alabama's roster in year 1.
That seems reasonable. One thing that always set college football video games apart from Madden was the customization. You could go into Dynasty mode, you could change your conferences around, you could change the BCS bowl tie-ins, you could do team builder or rosters, change all that kind of stuff. What can you tell us about customization in this new game?
Well, I think customization is going to be some pluses and minuses. On the plus side, their team builder is back. That's going to be done on the PC. We didn't get a ton of details on that, but the early word is that it's going to be a little bit more robust than it was last year. So you can import custom created teams and download other people's teams, put them into your dynasty. You can do custom conferences. You can add teams. You can subtract teams. One of the things that I kind of liked that I don't think you could do before is you can also change conference rules. So if you're playing a dynasty in the SEC and you decide, okay, I want there to be 9 conference games, now you can. If you want to say, we want to have 8 conference games, but I want my new protected rival to be Vanderbilt, you can do that, which is going to change schedules moving forward. The one place where customization I think is going to take a little bit of a step back is with the custom creating recruits and altering the existing rosters. Now that these rosters are full of real people who signed real licensing agreements that need to be honored, you're not going to be able to hop into the game and make like a March Manning who just happens to look like Arch Manning. There's going to be some player customization in 2014 that you're not going to have this year as EA works to try to build systems that are legally compliant. I think given the history of this game, that's understandable.
For sure. Matt, I imagine getting in there and playing with South Carolina was not your first order of duty when you got down there. But since we are a South Carolina show, is there anything you can tell us or anything that you remember specifically about the Gamecocks that either you saw with your own eyes or just you've picked up along the way that maybe our listeners would enjoy hearing? No,
I know it's a good question, and it's true. I played with I think at 9 different teams when I was there because I was stopping the game at halftime so I go fire something else up, and South Carolina was not one of them. And I was not able to file open records requests to get their submitted audio assets because I do not live in South Carolina, and I believe the school's multimedia rights partner handled a lot of that for them. I believe Cocky, the mascot's in the game, but for other more specific things, I didn't see it. I will say, though, from all the other schools that I saw, which included big schools and small schools, the attention to detail for stadiums and in-game presentation is insane. You will be able to see not just, okay, this is the music we play coming into the game, and this is the inside of our locker room, and here's the sound effects we play on penalties and on third downs. You'll be able to see like where in the stadium they put the opposing team's band, where on the sidelines each cheerleading squad is. Like they mapped out every seat in the stadium. Like that level of granular detail really pops.
Matt, I know you got another interview here shortly, but real quick, how much do you think that just having not just a year, because you're generally a football game, you're talking about a year-to-year thing. You have time crunches, but actually having a few years to just kind of build this game from scratch in a lot of ways. It sounds like the fact they were able to do that was kind of apparent in the level of attention to detail that you were able to see.
I don't think there was a way that they would have been able to release anything like what you're going to see this July without waiting an extra year. And that's, that's something that's going to be apparent in the story that came out today. It's going to be apparent in the story tomorrow and much of my other coverage here from this event. I think it's fair to look at this game as a foundational piece in the development. Not every single thing that EA Sports wanted to put in the game is going to be in this game. Probably not every single little thing that fans want. A lot of them are. But a major part of the last 2 years was building the infrastructure, modernizing this game, and building a solid base. So then there are things that you can add on to it in subsequent releases that don't break the fundamental structure of the game. For football games year to year, that's a real short development window, and you really only get one shot at a first impression and one shot to make sure the foundation of the game is working. And that's what they meant to do here.
Well, I can tell you we're all very excited for this game to finally come out, already setting aside the money to buy a new PS5 and the game as well. We appreciate your time, Matt. Know you got to run, and we might be checking in with you again later down the line as we get closer and closer to that release date.
You bet. All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Again, Matt Brown from the Extra Points newsletter, staying on top of all things with the EA Sports College Football 25.